Bryan.
Hello, everybody. This is Bryan versus Bryan. I'm Bryan,
And I'm Brian.
and this month during October we have a special uh, thing we're gonna do. We're gonna focus on some. That's reflected too much. We're gonna focus on horror games and horror movies. So, gonna get the spooks out, the Spook Fest, and this is episode 10. For episode 10, our little anniversary here, we're going to go with the Blair Witch Trilogy. All right. We're kind of partial to the Blair Witch. I hope you guys are too. We're going to discuss all three films, what we think of them, how they hold up, what they're all about. If you've never watched them, I don't know what you're doing with your life, bro.
I don't want to be friends with you if you haven't seen these movies.
Yeah. Maybe the second one and third one would give you a pass. But if you haven't seen the original Blair Witch Project, there's no hope for you or humanity at all.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
All right. So yeah, we had a busy weekend filling up on Blair Witch movies, and I was watching documentaries, every little bit of footage I could get a hold of. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I did the same. Yeah, you sent me that one about the second one, which, obviously we're going to get into, but I also found some stuff about the first one, which a lot of the stuff I saw I already kind of knew, but
Yeah.
some of the stuff was a little more elaborated. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see the behind the scenes of the first two. There's not much on the third, but
Yeah, let's start on the first one. Released in 1999. I think it was actually finished and made in like 97 though. Maybe 98 because it was an indie film and then it got picked up after Sundance.
mhm.
But first one came out. The big thing was a huge phenomenon. Found footage wasn't really well known. There's I think one other movie was that Cannibal Holocaust
Yeah.
that did it before it.
Which is like an underground. I mean, unless you were like really into underground
Yeah.
horror, you probably never even heard of it at the time.
Yeah, and then there was another one called The Last Broadcast or The Last Signal that apparently is super similar to Blair Witch.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually people thought that the Blair Witch directors, it's a two-person team, stole the idea and ripped off the movie, but they had never seen it. And then the directors of the Last Signal or Last Broadcast said that they weren't concerned about it. They didn't think they ripped them off. But I can't remember. Maybe you've seen the documentary, but the directors said they hadn't seen that movie. I can't remember if they said they hadn't seen Cannibal Holocaust. Oh yeah, they hadn't seen Cannibal Holocaust is what they said. And if they had seen it, they probably wouldn't have made this movie because it was pretty similar to it. They thought it was a pretty original idea that they had.
Yeah.
So yeah, first movie came out in 1999 because it was picked up after Sundance, and then they threw as a $26,000 movie to make. 26 grand. This movie made millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, $26,000. They threw 25 million at advertising after they picked it up. I can't remember who picked it up. Was it Lionsgate? Something.
Well, the first one is Artisan, I think.
Yeah, Artisan picked it up. Yeah. 25 million in advertising, and the internet was so brand new. They had the website with all the little extra documentaries you could watch and evidence, and they had the actors like lay low and not go out and do what they were unknown actors anyways, which I love because you can so get into believe who they are because you've never seen them before. But so everyone thought it was real. Like 40% of audiences at the time polled thought it was real. I thought it was real. It was the summer of 6th grade, so I'm a pretty impressionable, dumb kid. I went and saw it with my friend, and the websites were new. I didn't even have internet or knew many people that had internet, so you had to go to like your rich friend's house to even know what was up with the website. And so we went, and I remember being scared fucking shitless, dude. I remember closing my eyes in the theater and being like, just like my buddy would look over. No, I'm watching it. It's good. It's real good. Yeah, I can't believe they just kicked that monster. I had no idea what was going on, but That's kind of my intro to the world of Blair Witch, and we can elaborate more, but I don't want to take all the time. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of the same experience. I mean, I was when 99, I was 13, 14, and yeah, the same. I was just like, is this real? I mean, everyone thought that. Even if you were sure that this wasn't real, you still had a little bit of doubt because the marketing was so good. Like I did have the internet back then. I do remember looking at the websites and having it load for a minute and a half, like the top of the screen, loading, and then pops up the missing poster of the three of them, and all the photos they had and the lore they created. They really sucked you in, and and nobody had ever seen anything like that, and so it added to the marketing of the film. And then in terms of the film itself, yeah, it scared the shit out of me. I saw it with my mom opening weekend. I remember we were at a ball game. What are they called? The Dust Devils, right?
Yeah,
We were at a Dust Devils game.
or probably back then it was the Posse,
Yeah, oh yeah. That's
Tri
probably what
City Posse, baby.
it was.
Mount up.
And we left at like, I don't know, the sixth inning or something. My mom and I left, and my dad and my little brother stayed at the ball game. But we went to this theater in Kennewick, which is no longer a thing. I think it closed in like early 2000s.
The one up by the
Anyways, yeah.
mall.
No, it was. I'm terrible at street names. It's been over a decade since I've
Oh
lived
no,
there. But
that's where it played. Because yeah, I watched it too. It was the one that was like across the street from like the old like Sizzler.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
bro.
yeah.
That's where it played. Yeah, that
That's
theater.
what's up.
Fucking Sizzler.
Mm-hmm. We had a lot of family dinners at Sizzler and a movie afterwards. That's for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
So yeah, we saw it there, and yeah, I was the same. It scared the fucking shit out of me. And what makes this movie so unique is that it popularized the found footage. No one had really seen that before, and when you're sitting in the theater and you're seeing this raw looking film, where like when you see a normal movie, you still have this veil of like that it's fake, right? You see the
Yeah.
lighting and about cameras and directors and all that, but this was different. Like it looked like a home video and like a 4:3 aspect ratio. We're used to seeing things in widescreen and known actors and special effects, but it felt raw and like something you shouldn't be seeing, and it added to that like scary effect of like, fuck, is this real? And we hadn't seen anything
Yeah.
like that before.
It was so raw. Watching it
Mm-hmm.
again, like fuck, it's really realistic
Mm-hmm.
looking. And they have a good reason to film all this stuff. A lot of these found footage ones now, you're like, why the fuck are you filming? Why are you still
Yeah.
filming? Like fucking a ghost just threw your grandma through the wall, and you're like, grab the fucking camera, and it's like it makes no sense. But this one, it made sense. They're making the documentary. They're fucking going insane. They're scared out of their mind. And she says in the movie, she's pressed on it later. Why you keep filming? And they're fucking with her, Heather. And she's like, it's all I have left. And it makes sense. It's all she has left. Without filming, it's just complete terror. Because they talk about, you look through the camera, it's like an altered reality. It's not quite real. Just like when you watch a film, it's
Yeah.
not quite real when you see it on a camera. It's not real life. So that was pretty cool.
And like, yeah, just the way they filmed it, I think adds to the acting, because the acting is phenomenal. Like it doesn't feel like they're acting at all. And I think
Yeah.
most of it is because they're not. I think that they are acting, they're in their characters, but they're in character for so long, and they're out in the middle of the fucking woods, and these arguments that you're hearing are probably real arguments, and that's why they seem so real. Because they had very little interaction with the directors. I mean, they had interactions. I think they got brought food and crates with like film reels with motivations, and they didn't know each
Yeah.
other's motivations, so that kind of created conflict. But yeah, just the way it was filmed added to the rawness of it, that made it feel real and not just like somebody reading lines.
So I don't know if this is needed, but perhaps a quick synopsis of the film, if you don't fucking know. They go out to film the documentary on the Blair Witch Project, or the Blair Witch, in Burkittsville, formerly Blair. And so there's a little bit of documentary footage in the beginning, clips. Some of those people that they're interviewing apparently are actually real townsfolk.
Hmm.
and some of them are. Even those people, dude, I couldn't tell which ones were actors. So good for
Yeah.
them, man.
Hmm.
Except this one documentary did point out the one guy where they're talking on Coffin Rock and they're fishing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The younger guy with the glasses, he's a little like local theater. You can kind of
Yeah.
tell he's probably a fucking actor. That guy was he was a little much, but even that was not over the top at all.
Yeah, it was still fun. It's a funny little scene when.
But compared to the amazing performances, it stuck out. But it wouldn't have in a normal movie. But it just everything seems so real. Um, so yeah, after that, it's pretty much turns to found footage, which they came up with that term. That comes from Blair Witch Project. They had a poster that said, this footage was filmed in 1994
Mhm.
or
Found a year
1980.
later.
Right, yeah, and their footage was found a year later on the poster. So that's where found footage term of movies comes from. It was never before that. Um, so then it goes to found footage, and they're just going through the fucking woods. That's it. They're just walking through
Mhm.
the woods. It doesn't show absolutely anything. A pile of rocks, stick man, some noises. Uh, the closest thing you get to real gore is a little bundle. The guy who gets lost, Josh, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
Josh.
screaming his name the whole fucking movie. Josh, fucking Josh. So you find his shirt. His shirt's left, and it's a bundle of, and then it's got like teeth and blood in there. That was creepy as fuck in the theater. I
Yeah.
remember. Now it's like you're watching it. I'm like, this movie loses a lot after you've watched it a couple times and you know what's up. But God, the first ride it takes you on makes it a classic and it makes you endeared to it and love it every time you watch it. But then they eventually get to a house, and really they just go up and down the house, and eventually you see someone in a corner, both cameras fall to the ground. That's it. Nothing fucking happens. But it's so good that, I mean, this horror, it's what you don't see and what you don't know that makes these good psychological unravelings, because it's not too much a horror, I guess. It's just more like a psychological scare fest.
Yeah, I think that's what for me that's what makes it so great is because 80% of this movie is people arguing, right? And it just escalates and escalates, and you're seeing these people fall apart in front of your eyes. And on top of that, and that's already entertaining for me. It's entertaining enough as it is. I don't know. I still don't understand that it's boring. It's just people walking around the woods and
Yeah.
people arguing. I'm like, yeah, that's why there's 17 shows on the Discovery Channel right now where people lost in the fucking woods and they get millions of viewership. That's how boring it is, right? Go fuck yourself. Um, but watching these people argue and watching them fall apart in front of your eyes, but also the added effect of every time it gets dark, that like they're getting terrorized and like you said, what you don't see is scarier. Like I think one of the scariest part of the film is when they wake up in the tent and they hear children laughing and giggling outside their tent, and their tent starts shaking, and they fucking bolt in the middle of the woods, and all you see is Heather kind of
Yeah.
running out of focus, and her screaming is just like brings the hair on the top of my arm, just like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? I mean, you don't know
Yeah.
what she sees or what she's looking. I mean, you were supposed to know, but
Yeah. Right.
the way it turned out, it didn't. But
Kind of
just
glad
her
that,
scream just adds effect to that
yeah,
scene.
I'm kind of glad it didn't work out that way that they wanted it to, because
Hmm.
with that, obviously we know there's a guy off camera standing there wrapped in gauze. I think they
Yeah,
said he was
yeah.
wrapped in gauze. So it's just going to be some guy kind of white standing there, and he was supposed to pan the shot and show him while they're running, but he
Hmm.
didn't do it right. And they filmed that 9 times running out of the tent, and it never
Hmm.
worked out because they're using actual film. And I guess with the running, they said the film was falling off the reel or something like that. I've never filmed with real film. I don't know how that works, but
Yeah.
it was a really old camera, so they never got it. It probably would have detracted from the film if you've seen anything at that
Hmm.
point because they've shown so little. But yeah, the boredom thing, I don't get that. I get it now that I watched it like 100 fucking times.
Sure.
Um, it gets boring now because I know every little nuance of this movie, but I still enjoy it. It's not
Hmm.
boring. It's approaching boredom, but that's only if you've watched it 100 times, and you've only watched it 100 times because it's fucking good and it's not boring,
Yeah, yeah.
right? You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
yeah, that makes no sense. But going back to there's just so many cool things to talk about with this fucking movie. It's so
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
First of all, it was the highest, not grossing, but made the most money of any independent
Yeah.
film for a long time. I don't know if it still holds the record. It probably is close because it was so cheap and it made so much money. Um, but the way they filmed it, this guerrilla style, dude, they actually sent him out into the woods. They had GPSs, so they had a daily log, like here's where you start, here's where you need to go. And they, like you said, they just gave them character motivations, no dialogue really. The script was 30 pages, and it was just an outline of events, really. And then, your motivation is you're pissed at Heather. You think she doesn't know what she's doing.
Hmm.
You're skeptical of Josh. Did he steal the map or something like that?
Yeah.
And so they would just go and film it themselves. And then, like at night, the directors would come after they'd actually fallen asleep and start fucking with them and get genuine reactions. And then, yeah, like once a day, they would leave a crate with I guess it had a bicycle flag, and it was
Hmm.
on the GPS. They could find it, and they left them food and water, and they progressively left them less food every day.
Yeah.
And so they would just get more and more worn. But I guess they always gave them plenty of water, but they left them less and less food.
Hmm.
Just God, who thinks of that? That's amazing. Nobody makes
Yeah.
films like this. Like this
Yeah.
is film student shit. And then I usually don't like film student shit because by the end product, that's why I put the word shit in there. It's shit.
Hmm.
Your film's, yeah, it's a cool concept, but the movie sucks.
Yeah.
This movie is fucking rad. The concept is sweet. The execution is perfect. The acting is impeccable. These people are real fucking people. Like after the movie, people knew it's not real eventually because the actors are fucking doing Leno and shit.
Yeah.
And people hated Heather's character so much because of what she did and brought them into. Like for years later, she's out on the streets. People just come up to her and say, "Fuck you, Heather, you fucking bitch," and fucking go off on her, dude. And they know it's not real, but you're so invested into it. And it's like one of my moments, like it's so real. Like when Mike kicks the map into the river and he admits it to everybody. Like you're so invested and you're so there that I was, you're fucking livid at
Yeah.
Mike, right? You're like, you fucking son of a bitch, you killed us. Like you're one of them, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was so amazing.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, man. It's it's one of those. I mean, I guess in every horror movie, you kind of put yourself in people's shoes, and that's what kind of makes it scary. But this one just amplifies it, man. Like I go camping every year with my family, right? And 2 years
Yeah.
ago, I remember I was with this is the first year we took Ellie with us, my dog, and it was the middle of the night. We're in their little tent at our campsite, and then I woke up in the middle of the night and fucking Ellie's growling. "Rrrr." And then I hear like something kind of walking around my tent and kind of pushing up against the side of it. And I don't know. And like, I'm just sitting there fucking terrified. So like putting yourself in the shoes of these characters of like hearing children laugh outside of your tent and like 3 o'clock in the morning is insane. Like, or, you know, you wake up and your friend is gone, right? And you have no idea where he went. And then that night you wake up and he's just screaming in the middle of the woods in the dark in the night, and you don't know where it's coming from. Like that's terrifying. Like if you
Yeah.
like if you, Dave, and I went camping and you just fucking disappeared, we were being hunted by some whatever, and you went missing in the middle of the night, and then the next night I hear you screaming in the woods, like, fuck, dude,
It's not a good look.
scary, man, scary
Yeah.
shit.
It's fucking scary, dude. Like camping was not the same for years after that, dude.
Hmm.
For years after that. It's fucking because it's experience that everyone's had. Everyone's been camping, so you could so easily relate to this and how scary it is just to be out in the woods by yourself. But then you start thinking of what could really happen. It's like God, so good. Um, what else can we say? Oh, there's some other tidbits that after the movie was bought, their distribution rights by Artisan, they went back and cleaned it up, changed it a bit. I'd kind of like to see the original Sundance cut and see how different that is. I heard it's not very different, but I heard slightly different. And then they filmed some different endings because, of course, studios got to fuck with this amazing film. They thought the ending wasn't gruesome enough, wasn't
Hmm.
scary enough. So they brought back Mike. And they filmed some other shit. They brought him back for like 4 days, and he said he got paid more those 4 days than he did the whole shoot with the movie. And so they tied him up on like a Blair Witch stick man. They had him facing forward instead of backward in the corner. They had him like guts torn out, a couple different things, but they ended up
They had
not
him
using.
hanging.
Oh yeah, they hung him.
Hung
They
him.
ended up not using any of it because the original ending was pretty good. Well, not pretty good. It was fucking awesome.
Hmm.
Better to not see anything. But yeah, there's not much more to say about that. That's one of my favorite scary movies of all time, and I could go back to it just again and again.
Oh, for sure. Right. I mean, I think it's one of the best horror films ever made. We haven't seen really anything like it since. I mean, the closest you can probably get is Paranormal Activity, for better or worse, whether you like that movie or not. I think it's probably the closest it's a movie's gotten to
Yeah.
something like Blair Witch. And yeah, I think it's one of my favorite horror films that I've seen. Before we move on, though, I was I was thinking a little too long and hard about this last night, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Um, but I was thinking about like an extended cut of this film because when Blair Witch came out, the 2016, there was rumors circled that Eduardo, one of the directors of Blair Witch Project, said that there's 17 hours of unused
Oh yeah, yeah,
footage, and
yeah.
like I want to release a newer cut. And so me as I like last night, I stayed up a little too long thinking about this, but I thought like for me as a fan, what would I want to see in a longer cut? And what I came up with was that um, there's that scene where Heather is filming the car and they're like waving goodbye. They're like about to go in the woods and they're kind of just filming Josh's car as they back up. I think everything from that point on to the end of the movie should remain intact. I don't think anything should be added or taken away from the whole woods section. What I would love to see is more meat in the first section of the movie because like they get into the woods pretty early on. Like I went and looked it up because I'm a nerd person like that, but it
Yeah.
takes 14 minutes for them to get into the woods. So I thought, it would be cool to see them hanging out more and like bonding and like maybe being a little naive to like what they're about to do and a little confident. Oh, making movies, drinking beer in the hotel room, like maybe expand that kind of stuff or more stuff in the car of them just kind of bullshitting and getting along. Maybe some more stuff in Burkittsville, like maybe there's some unused interviews. And the reason why I want more stuff in the beginning of the film is for two reasons. The first is that I think it would be beneficial to the film if we saw more footage of them interacting and getting along, because that's a good contrast to later in the film where they all start breaking down and turning on one another. And then the second reason is I like a horror movie that has a lot of buildup. Like, so instead of them getting to the woods 14 minutes of the movie, like maybe they get into the woods about 35 to 40 minutes of the movie. So you kind of build that anticipation of like, they talking about the Blair Witch lore and being out in the
Yeah.
woods. And then 40 minutes later, they're in the woods and you're like, oh shit, here we go. Fucking here we go. They're in the woods. But yeah, so I would love to see more stuff in the beginning of the film and leave the woods stuff kind of intact. But I don't know how you feel about that. If you'd rather see more stuff,
I could
um,
do I could do with all of it, baby.
all of it.
I think this film lends itself to adding to it because it's a found footage film,
Hmm.
right? So they filmed all this shit. It's still in the vein. It's still exactly, what happened. So I think they could add a lot to even once you're in the woods. Not
Hmm.
even scary stuff, but more of just the monotonous stuff.
Yeah,
Uh, I did think it had a slow burn anyways. I think it had a slow burn. I mean, when they get in the woods, it takes a while for anything really spooky to start happening.
that's true.
Um, like the first night is just it's like, there's really nothing. It's like, yeah, I love the scene, dude. It's so good where it's Josh and it's like, yeah, I definitely heard two distinct noises coming from two. What do you say? This the way he says it is so good. It's like two distinct areas of space out there. One could have been an owl. It could have been the second was a definite cackle. It was a definite cackle. And then you hear Mike's like, if I heard a fucking cackle, dude, I'm shitting my pants. So it starts
That's
off
true.
slow. And they do, I could do with a lot of more of the documentary stuff. I like that stuff too at the beginning. It's like that. I like that lady's like, and the arm was hairy, like a horse,
Like a fur.
like a hairy horse, and then she had legs. She had legs.
She was
Like,
just weird looking.
it was just, yes, a very scary story, actually. Yeah, that lady was fucking.
Mary Brown.
That lady's no. I mean, she can't be real. She's in the movie too much to be a real person. That's got to be an actress. So she's a good actress, man.
But yeah, like you're saying, I think the Sundance cut was 2.5 hours, and I think after Sundance they whittled it down to 120 or an hour and 20. But I'm wondering what the Sundance folks got to see that we didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I think it lends itself to adding footage to it. I don't think. I mean, shit, a director's cut couldn't hurt anything, right? You could always watch the theatrical cut if you like that better. But who knows? Maybe it would add way more just having it be longer. Because yeah, they filmed 18 hours of footage, I think, total in the woods. So there's a lot of it. Could you just imagine if just fucking 8 hours of this? 8 hours of just 8
Miniseries.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just losing your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be down for it. I'd be down for that guy to go back to the franchise. He's talked recently because the newest one didn't do too well and what he wanted to do, but the Lionsgate, who owns it now, isn't really down for it. He said he would like to make a prequel. He said he would like to do maybe a Rustin Parr movie, which could be cool.
Yeah.
But nothing really found footage style is what he's talking about. So I think that's where they're not really on board. And I'm afraid that Blair Witch is probably over.
Yeah, I think so.
After the newest one, I don't think they're going to want to invest much more time or money into it, unfortunately. But I think that about brings us to the end of number one. Is there any more glowing things we could say about this movie?
I don't know. I'm running out of adjectives. It's that good.
Yeah, I mean, watch it. So good. And then there is, I'm pretty sure on the DVD and stuff, if not, I think you can probably find it on YouTube, but there's a documentary that expands on the beginning part that's made for the movie, and it's got more of that stuff. And I remember watching that. That was pretty good. It was really good.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about the thing that premiered on Sci-Fi Channel?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember what it was called. But anyways, it's a supplementary documentary that was made as an advertisement for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But that was really good. So,
Book of Shadows.
Book of Shadows, baby. No one knows what it is. It's not in the movie, the book. So yeah, Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows. They wanted to capitalize on this bad boy because it was big. So this sequel got made the next day.
Yeah.
This Blair Witch came out in 1999. This one came out in 2000, baby. It was fucking fast.
So sad.
Fucking fast. But so the guys didn't come back. They were doing a romantic comedy they were signed up for. Never got made. I wonder why.
Yeah.
But yeah. They got a director. They had a couple scripts. He didn't like the scripts. They were pretty much just same movie, kids lost, kids die in the woods. And so he pitched his idea, this new director. I don't remember who the new director is, this new one, or two.
Joe Berlinger, something like that?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Oh yeah, and he did Paradise Lost, right? The documentary.
The HBO show, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's good, and he had a good idea. They pitched to him, and they liked it, and so he got to do it, his own idea. I like this movie. I really like Blair Witch 2. I think it's underrated as fuck. I love it. I watched it the other day, and I was still spooked by it, dude. I was fucking still spooked. It's such a unique way to do a sequel. I love unique ideas and unique stories. And subversions of expectations when they come with a good story, Brian.
Fuck
so,
off.
so the fact that this sequel, I just thought it was the coolest thing. I never seen it. This sequel is about the Blair Witch movie. Like people liked the Blair Witch Project movie so much that they're going like to the town and they're giving tours and stuff. And so that's how it's a sequel. That's how it's
Mhm.
connected. And I just thought that was a super cool way to do it. Like I remember when I was in my movie class in high school, that's how I did. I did movies to make sequels to the movie like this.
Mhm.
Like, okay, it's because we only had like 5 people in our group. So we make the movie and then we're going to make the sequel. It's like, okay, we saw that movie and we liked it. and we're seeing if it's real. That was always my pitch. It was the Blair Witch 2 pitch.
Mhm.
So that's my intro to Blair Witch 2. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I don't know if I love it, but I like, I kind of echo what you were saying. I like that it's different. I like that it took a new approach. I like that it's extremely psychological, to the point where at the end you're like, what the fuck just happened? And like,
Yeah.
it's one of those movies you have to rewatch a few times, which I like those kind of movies. I think it has a really bold ending, a really ballsy ending that I like, and I like that a lot. There's some like technical stuff. The reason why I'm not in love, there's some technical stuff. I'm not like, I think the acting is a little rough. I think some of the camera work is a little bland and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just technical stuff. But as far as the story goes, yeah, I think it's really unique and really cool. And it sucks that the studio. I think they said he had 5 weeks to write a script, which is insane, and then shoot it within a year. And, that's extremely unfortunate. And they also, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it if you want to do it now, but the studio kind of interfered with the movie and made some changes
Yeah.
and for the worse. But yeah, overall, I like it. I like it a lot. I think it is underrated.
Yeah. So synopsis of this one: this guy starts a tour of the Blair Witch area trail, whatever you want to call it, and these people come, and they're all like the archetypes. They got the smarty guy who doesn't believe it. They got the goth chick. They got a witch who, anyways, and they go off and they go out to the woods where it happened, and they kind of lose track of time, and they're filming everything, and they want to figure out what happened. So they go back to his house with all his editing equipment and check out the footage, and that's pretty much the film. That arc, and then you'll find out what happened in the footage, and then by the end, you realize that they have killed another group of tourists. But you're really not supposed to know too much about it, but the studio came in and made sure you did. So, yeah, studio came in and changed it. They added the killings. There was no killings, like stabbings and stuff like that in the original cut. They had to film that in his backyard, like 5 weeks before the premiere.
That's
And
so crazy, man.
yeah, it says it wasn't gruesome enough. And just to get a big perspective of how much they changed it, like that intro where it's sweeping over the trees and it's playing Marilyn Manson, like you
Hmm.
see in the documentary, it's supposed to be Frank Sinatra's Witchcraft, which just changes the whole mood of the movie instantly if you watch that with that song playing.
Yeah, they did it in
Compared,
that documentary you sent me, and
yeah,
it does feel weird. Like, because the thing is that we've already seen this movie and we know what it is. So hearing Sinatra in front of a movie that we know, it feels weird. But I imagine that his vision, it probably would have worked. But it it does feel weird.
yeah, it's just supposed to be a slow descent into madness over the
Yeah.
whole movie, but the studio made him put in the stabbings and stuff, and like, which is ridiculous. Um,
Yeah, because it was supposed to start out lighthearted, right? That's why the Sinatra is there. Like, it's supposed to be lighthearted in the beginning, and then
yeah,
slowly it turns kind of
yeah,
darker. And
but
Yeah.
they're instantly cutting in murder to the beginning. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
those scenes are pretty close to the beginning. And it's weird. The studio said it wasn't gruesome enough, but they wanted him to take out the bloody crotch of the girl when she had
Miscarriage.
the miscarriage.
Yeah.
Like that's too
That's
much.
weird.
But we're going to
Yeah.
show you slitting throats and stabbing people in the stomach and hitting them with a rock.
Hmm.
But so they added all that in. That song's different. That was a banger though when I was a kid. I remember
Yeah.
I didn't see this one in theater. I rented it as soon as it came out because this was up to that point was the quickest theater release to a VHS turnaround ever.
Hmm.
So I rented it. I remember it was on my birthday. So all my friends were over. We all liked Blair Witch, so we watched that. And it starts like, like, oh shit, yeah, Marilyn, man, yeah.
Yeah, I was the same way. I was a Marilyn Manson fan back then, so yeah, I dug it. I actually did see this in theaters. I saw it at Carmike. My
Nice.
dad took me to see it, and it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking scary. There's some really cool shit in it. There's all these hidden things, like the S or
Yeah,
ever thing, like the backwards shit you could find. All sorts of little hidden messages in the movie. um, oh yeah, they say that early on in the film he says, what do you say? Film lies, but tape never does, or something like that. So when you're
yeah,
watching the film, everything you see in the film is fake, and then everything you see on the tape is what happened,
yeah,
which is pretty cool, and it's just spooky shit. I really like it. But yeah, they changed it a lot. It's just supposed to be that slow descent into madness, and then at the end, I'd love to see a director's cut of this one, man. And then at the end, is when the cop is interrogating them, and they start to realize what had happened. But they're cutting that in throughout the whole fucking movie,
yeah.
so
Which is unfortunate.
it really fucks with the pacing of, because you already know something has happened. It's like you shouldn't know that to the end. So I'd like to see that cut of this
Yeah,
because
to like see the original, to see his cut, which I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but he wanted to not slice in those interview scenes throughout the movie, and he was going to
yeah,
save them to the end.
it's all the
So
end.
like for us as an audience, we see them kill Tristan because Tristan's being all witchy, and they don't like
Yeah,
that, and so they push her and hang her because she's being evil, right? And then we're like, oh shit. But then for us to see the reveal of like
yeah,
them actually her like begging for her life and them like you know
yeah. She's like, leave me.
murdering her basically,
Yeah, she's
that
like,
would
leave
be a
me.
cool reveal.
God, it was scary, dude. She's like, leave me alone, and then you think that guy is justified in pushing her off the railing and hanging her, but then you see in the footage, she's begging, he pushes her off, and he just looks at the fucking witch bitch. Like, oh
So
shit,
cold, man, so
dude.
cold. But yeah, that's what I love about the movie is the bold ending, even though it is kind of half-assed in its delivery, but I love the ending.
Yeah, it's the acting is something to be desired, but fuck, it's how can I like it so much when it's so different than the first one, and the acting is not near. It's not. Oh, it's like watching a school play versus some like Oscar nominated actors in Blair
Yeah.
Witch. That's how big the difference is in the acting. It's so crazy, but I still really like it. And I still really
Hmm.
liked it the second time. Um, I rented it once. My wife and I watched it, and she had never seen it, and she liked it. She's pretty hard to get into movies she's not invested into. It's one of those kind of, I like movies I've seen already. I don't like new movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially weird ones. But she got into it and liked it. Even though when I was watching it again, she's like, "What is this?" I was like watching on my laptop. I was like, "This is Blair Witch 2." It's like, "I've never seen that." I was like, "Yeah, yes, you have." It's like we rented it from Hastings, and we rented it because this is even after Rent was dead. But I couldn't. This movie's hard to find. I don't think it's ever been made on a Blu-ray. I would really like it on a Blu-ray. I want a triple pack is what I was looking for to buy, but there's no triple pack. There's only packs that have the third one and the first one. Second one's pretty hard to come by. Only on DVD, I think. And so DVDs look like shit now. So we rented it because I couldn't find it anywhere. So I just wanted to see it back then. I was like, man, I hadn't seen it in a long time. And she liked it, yeah, but goes to show how much she liked it because she's claimed she didn't see it this time. I was like, you liked it. Oh, did I? That's nice.
Don't even fucking remember it.
Enjoy your movie, babe.
You said it was the best movie you've ever seen.
You said you had night terrors.
The fuck?
But that's mostly what I got on that movie. I really like it, man. I think if you have a way to watch it, go watch it. Like it's on Prime. It's on Amazon Prime Video. Thanks for letting me know about that because that one's a deep cut. I can't believe they have it on there.
Yeah. I would say anybody out there who saw it the first time and didn't like it, give it another shot. And, maybe you still hate it, but I would say give it another shot because I do think it's underrated and there are some really cool aspects about it.
Yeah. And if you've never seen it and you like the first one, I don't know. I guess I'm just speaking for me. I don't know a lot of other Blair Witch fans. Oh, I guess you. So I'm speaking for two. I don't know of anybody that likes the first one that doesn't like the second one.
Yeah. Agreed.
And then the critics of the movie, it was just so stupid. It's like, oh, it plays it too safe. It's like a normal horror movie this time. I was like, dude, this is the opposite of fucking safe.
Yeah.
Right? This is a complete 180 of what Blair Witch is. This is the unsafest sequel you could have ever made. The safe sequel would have been to throw fucking 3 people back in the woods and just do it over again, and it probably would have sold well.
Yeah.
Which is what they did for the third one. So yeah, not safe. Really innovative. Like, dude, this is a really cool way to do a sequel. I liked it. I still like it.
Yeah, agreed.
Not up there with one, but definitely worth a watch, and I still go back to it occasionally. So, Blair Witch. Oh, I was gonna say Blair Witch 3, Book of Nothing, but
just Blair Witch.
It's just called Blair Witch this time. That's how all the reboot / sequels seem to do it now. Just say the name. Just say the
Drop
fucking name. Say the name. It's not Star Wars. It's just fucking Wars.
It's not Fast and Furious. It's Furious.
It's just fast, bitch.
Oh wait, they actually did that, didn't they? Didn't they? Wasn't one of them actually called Furious?
No, I fucking hate those movies.
God damn it.
Ever since, I don't know, man. I guess the only good thing that came out of Fast and Furious is that move, bitch, get out the way.
Ludicrous.
Is there a bumper on your ass? No. I love that shit. So going into Blair Witch, which is Blair Witch 3, 2016. So 1999, 2000, it took a little break.
Yeah.
Now, it took a little break. They had one every year for 2 years. And then they disappointed us, made us wait 16 motherfucking years for this shit. And so I was hyped. I was hyped on this, dude. I was like, oh shit, Blair Witch is coming back. Yeah. So I know you were talking to me. You had changed your mind on the movie. I don't know what your mind was initially. So maybe you start.
I wanted to keep it a secret until today.
So go ahead. You start and bring us into Blair Witch.
So I have a long spiel. So stick with me, everybody. So in 2015, I went and saw a movie. I don't remember, probably The Witch or some other horror film. And a trailer plays, and it's like there's a cover of what's that police song? Every time the one I'm watching you. The fuck is that? Every step you take. Yeah, there's like a creepy kind of acoustic cover of that song, and it's kind of overplayed by this long shot of the woods, and like there's these quotes that come on the screen like a horror movie that reinvents the genre and all this kind of buzzwordy bullshit. Best horror film ever made. And it's kind of cut in with like people running around the woods and yada yada yada. And I'm like, what is this? I've never even heard of this. So I usually have, my finger on the pulse of horror films. and I never heard of it. And at the end, it's like The Woods. I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck is this? And so I found out that it was a new movie by a director named Adam Wingard. I'm like, why do I know that name? And I looked up his IMDb. I'm like, oh shit, he did a movie called You're Next, which I really liked. And then he did a couple segments on both the VHS movies. And then he did a movie called The Guest, which I really liked. So I'm like, oh shit, you know, this guy's a really good director and he's making this movie called The Woods. It looks creepy. So that's kind of where it was at the time. It was on my radar. And then flash forward to, I don't know, 6, 7 months later, I'm in the bathroom taking a shit and I'm on Twitter or something. And all of a sudden Blair Witch is trending. I'm like, what? And so I click on them. I'm kind of reading all these articles, and it turns out that The Woods was secretly a Blair Witch movie, and they announced it at Comic-Con. And I'm fucking taking a shit, freaking out, like screaming in the bathroom and excitement. And they even screened the movie at Comic-Con that night. And you know, the reviews coming out of that night were glowing and like, oh, the true Blair Witch sequel we deserve, and all that kind of nonsense. So I was really hyped. And then it came to the release, and I was lucky enough to get like an early screening of it. I think I saw it like 3 weeks early before it released. And sat in the theater. There was a huge buzz in the room. Everyone, you know, was excited to be there and like, oh fuck, the new Blair Witch, oh shit. And the movie just starts. There's no trailers because usually at screenings they just start movies. There's no trailers or ads or anything. So I watched the movie, and then after the movie, I went to my friend's house. He was having like a little shindig or whatever. So we're sitting out back around. He has like a little fire pit.
Yeah.
And we're just smoking and drinking. And I was like, yeah, I just saw the new Blair Witch movie. And they're like, what? That shit ain't even out yet. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, I saw it 3 weeks early. What is up? He goes, was it good? I was like, well, my knee-jerk reaction in 2016 was, if you love the Blair Witch Project, you're probably not going to like this movie. But if you hated the Blair Witch Project, you thought it was boring, there was no witch, nothing happened, then you're probably going to really like it. And then I kind of followed it up by saying that it was probably one of the better found footage movies that I'd seen. And that was kind of all I remember what I said about it back then in 2016. I hadn't seen it since.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you were saying, Friday night I rewatched it. And after the movie, I texted you and said, hey, I think I changed my mind in this movie. And so after watching it Friday night, I want to say that I fucking hate this movie.
Yeah.
This movie is really bad, and it sucks, and it's not a good found footage movie at all. Yeah, I hated my experience watching it Friday night. It was just like, there must have been, I don't know, there's something weird about like getting excited in the theater for like it gets you all jazzed up, and you kind of, I don't know. It kind of adds to your opinion on a movie sometimes. Like, oh yeah, it was super fun. And you kind of go back and watch it at home and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
For sure. I don't feel that strongly about it. I think it was a disappointment for sure. But I thought it had some good stuff in it. It's definitely a kind of a fun watch to get more lore. It's definitely less Blair, more witch. That's for sure.
Slender Man.
Should have just called it Witch, motherfucker. I should have. The preview should have been that guy from number 2, that witch bitch. But yeah. So I'll do a synopsis and then I'll get into my opinion. So it's kind of Heather from the first movie. Apparently had a little brother who was 4 at the time. She got lost. And he's kind of heard all these stories about the Blair Witch and the forest, and he wants to find her. And he's been actively looking in now his adult life, or I don't know if he's an adult. He's roughly 19 to 21 years old is kind of what
he's probably in his mid-20s.
Yeah. And so he's been looking for evidence, and somebody sends him this YouTube clip of that they think it is the house that the is in their footage, or Heather's footage, and it shows someone running through the halls, and they go by a mirror, and he freezes it, and it's got like a woman's face, right? And so he's like, oh, that could be my sister. Could it really?
Sure, pal.
She's been in that house for a long fucking time.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he goes out to meet the guy who posted the footage, They meet up with them, and then the guy kind of cons them into letting him and his girlfriend go with them on the journey to find uh, the house. And they go out there, shit starts happening. Um, Come to find out that guy had never been in those woods. He had lied about all this stuff and to get them to go out because he wanted safety in numbers. And so they kind of kicked them off. Uh, so then they separate, him and his girlfriend and the other group. And so some of the things they start to do, which I did like, was they introduced more things for the witch that kind of would make more sense now in the first movie of what some things that happened, like she can manipulate the actual forest. I thought that was kind of cool lore. Like she could physically change it. So that's why you can never leave, You get to this point in the forest and all of a sudden, pow, the forest is there again. So you're stuck. And she can manipulate time in this one, which is I didn't like as much. It's kind of cool because like that guy would come back and they'd meet up with the other group and he would look disheveled and fucked up. And he's like, I've been out here 5 days. When's the last time you saw me? And they're like, earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I like that one because, I mean, that could have been cool, but he said like the sun never came up. And obviously in the first Blair Witch, the sun kept coming up. That was their only reprieve from the terror. So if they would have still had the sun come up and down, it would have made more sense. Like she can manipulate time. Like you think you've been out there 3 days, but you've been out there 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. So I kind of liked these new interesting things. But like you said, Slender Man, they try to add in some lore that, oh yeah, she was tied to a tree, but they never told you before. But guess what? They tied rocks to her fucking arms, dog, and her legs, and they put her high up and they stretched her ass out, bro. Now her arms are fucking long and her legs are long too.
Yeah. Now she's a giant.
That was pretty fucking creepy though. That's a pretty disturbing. It reminded me of that's totally Resident Evil 7, that like old lady fight, bro. That's where they got that.
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
That's that fight. Now that I see this, did this come? This came out before 7, didn't it? 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Resident Evil 7, you're not fooling anybody with that fight in the creepy house with the long chick. Like, dude, that's this movie. But they go to the house. After watching the house scene in the new one and going back, I watched the 16 one first, and then I watched the first one last night. They did a really good recreation of the house. I didn't know it was that close. Like when I was watching the footage, I was like, oh shit, there's a little banister where they're going up the stairs. I mean, it's a little different, but it's pretty good recreation. And so the whole thing is all this time manipulation. Like you find out the girl in the footage of the mirror is the girl who just went on this journey, right? And so I was like, what?
Yeah, makes no sense.
And so somehow they found that tape and sent it off of themselves. Oh man, it's a kind of a mind fuck. Didn't make much sense, but I thought it was scary. It's pretty creepy. Like they go hardcore on the scares. Like they find the stick men, and then one of the girls is like, oh my God, that's my hair. She has purple hair or some shit. So it's really distinct. And then they're pissed at her. So the girl grabs the stick man. Fuck you. Like breaks it. And then it fucking breaks the girl in half. Like, oh, I was like, holy shit. Whoa. And then she's like bent in half there. I was like, that was pretty cool. And it ramps up the scares really fast. Like I thought it was a good scene. Like if this would have happened in the first movie, it could have been really cool. Like when they get scared in the tent and then they look at the tent and the tent just fucking flies in the air, like goes somewhere. Like that scene, you put that in the first movie, I would have fucking died. Like they go out of the tent and they look back at the tent and the tent just sucked up in the air. Like, oh, that was pretty cool. It's creepy. It's scary. I watched it and I went outside and smoked a cigarette on my dark ass porch. I'm looking with my phone in the corner and shit, expecting to see someone standing in the corner or something. It's creepy. It's a little bit of a letdown. It's a lot of bit of a letdown. It's fun to get back into the lore. It's worth a watch. Now that I've watched it like 2 or 3 times, I'm probably not going back. I wish they would have connected it more, really, like to Heather, have something connecting. Oh, and they introduced this fucking stupid shit. Oh, if you don't look at the witch, she can't hurt you.
Mm,
So they
yeah.
have like, the camera, and so they're looking in the viewfinder. Oh, so you can look at her through a viewfinder, but don't use your fucking eyes, bitch. You'll die. So
Yeah.
anyway, she's walking backwards, sees the big slender woman, and it makes no sense because the dude not looking at her saves you. It's like, this is a terrible weakness to have.
Yeah.
But I did like how in that scene,
She's a
uh,
T-Rex.
yeah, I like how in I like how in those scenes that she hears the other person's voice, like say something, and she's like, oh shit, that's why she turns around.
Yeah.
Because I like that because it ties into the first one. Like, that's not Josh.
Hmm.
You're hearing scream in the woods. That's the witch. Like Josh is dead at that point. So I liked that. And then because I think they do that a little bit in the house at the first one too. Like I think she hears,
Josh is screaming in
yeah,
the first one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Josh is yelling in the house. But I think Heather also hears Mike say something, like when she loses him a little bit in the house. And I think at that
Mm,
point Mike's not talking. I think, I'm down here. I don't think that's him. I think that's the witch. But not looking at the witch didn't save her.
yeah.
But that's kind of my thoughts on the third movie. I think it's worth a watch. It's fun to get back to the lore, but unfortunately, it probably killed the series, though, didn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, so I want to. So I'll say some things I like about it before I trash it a little bit. But I like the scene where they find out that the couple that brings them out into the woods. They find out that because I think after the first night they wake up and there's stick figures all over the campsite, and they're like, "Whoa, what's all this shit?" And then they find out that the couple actually built all those stick figures, whatever, and they have this confrontation in the middle of the woods. I like that scene a lot because again, conflict is good. You need that in a movie. And then they just tell them to fuck off in the woods. Like, A, that makes no sense. Like you think they'd be a little more sensitive of like, hey, we're mad at you, but you can still stay with us. Like we're just gonna tell you to fuck off. And like that makes no sense to me. And also
Yeah.
as a storytelling device, like you want to keep those characters in your group because you have built-in conflict. So I don't know why you get rid of that conflict. It makes no sense to me. But I did like that scene. I like when it's all revealed that they're kind of fucking with them because my first viewing, I thought, is this movie going to go kind of Blair Witch 2-ish where there really is no witch and it's going to be kind of psychological or like maybe there's a cult out here and they're going to fuck, that didn't be the case. And then the other scene that I really, really like is when I don't remember any of their names, but the main woman who's making the documentary, she's crawling under the house in like a tunnel and
Mm.
she gets stuck and their camera's facing her and she's like screaming and having like a mental breakdown and a panic attack. I love that scene a lot. I think it's really effective. And it's probably the most realistic, like real feeling of the movie because the rest of the movie feels not very real at all. But I did like that scene. And I think to a certain extent, the last like 15 minutes of the movie in the house is actually really fun. It's a fun little roller coaster ride. A lot of it's not needed, not necessary, like seeing the witch and all these things that you've already mentioned about, oh, you can't look at the witch. It's all kind of stupid, but I think overall it's kind of a fun ride the last 15 minutes of the movie. Um, but yeah, the acting is so bad. It feels like actors with lines and the character motivation, like the friend is like mean to the couple for no good reason whatsoever,
The
and
black
like all
guy.
these, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just like, what the
hated
fuck?
that character throughout the movie. I was like, dude, why is this guy's just a dick?
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't capture the spirit of the first. It's trying to be a found footage movie, but it doesn't feel like one at all. It just,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
way too produced.
Yeah. And
They
there's
tried to.
added sound effects and music, which I think is complete bullshit. And there's also stupid jump scares of like people, like the camera pans, what is that? And then someone goes, huh! And jumps into the frame. They do it so much in the movie that they even joke about it. Like one person has a dog, oh, you need to quit doing that. I'm like, yeah, you guys do need to quit doing that because it's fake and stupid and you don't need to do it.
Yeah, they tried to. They try to explain away a lot of these things by saying, "Oh, we got these cameras on our ears, so that why we have all these different perspectives. We
Hmm.
have the drone, so that's why we get establishing shots and stuff like that. Um, yeah, it's pretty whack. I what Another thing I did like was that they started this story thread and then they didn't finish it. Was that the girl like steps on something? Remember
Yeah, the
the
girlfriend.
yeah, she steps on something and her foot gets infected. And they never really go into it, but it seems like somehow she was like an infected by the witch, or
Hmm.
like possessed by the witch through her foot, because they go to mess with her foot, and then like the dude's checking it out and like the foot like something like hits the skin like it's trying to come out, and he gets all scared, and they never really go too far into it, and she's acting weird, dude. She starts acting all crazy. So I really wish they would have gone more into that, but they didn't.
Yeah,
They kind of just
she pulls out it looked like
yeah she
rope or something, or some sort of material out of her foot.
yeah when she
Or I don't know what it was, but
it was out of her like her leg. Remember, like her foot was injured, but then later she pulls up her pant like this, and it's like right here. There's like a
oh yeah,
hole,
yeah, yeah,
and
that's
then she
right.
pulls it, and it looks like what it looked like to me was like the bug from the Matrix. It looked like a little animal type thing, and it was
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean, like the thing
Well,
that
they're
goes
like
in your
stick bugs.
yeah, that goes in your stomach. And I was like,
Hmm.
what the fuck? And then she's just killed by the witch, like just taken, and it
Yeah,
doesn't really go anywhere. I was like, I thought you were getting possessed, and she was gonna kind of try to, the witch was like gonna be you, you know, use you to kill all these people, like the witch always uses somebody, right? Um, so I don't. That was a cool thread that they just kind of didn't finish, I thought.
yeah, yeah. It didn't
But
really go anywhere.
but yeah, movie kind of sucked.
Yep.
I was super hyped on it. Didn't work out. Um, I hear the game is pretty good. They got a game now too.
Yeah. Do you
I
want me to go into that, or do you want to save it for the video game one? I didn't know. I mean, it could go in either way, but yeah, I've played it. It's we can either talk about it now or into our video game
we.
episode.
I mean, we're probably not gonna. This is the Blair Witch episode. I don't know what we're gonna do for video games, but I'm sure it'll be a more concise topic than that. So yeah, what was the game like? I haven't played it.
Oh, okay. Well, shit. I'm assuming you're interested to play it though, right?
Probably, but I don't know. Go ahead, spoil it.
No, I don't no. You should play it. I'll be as vague as possible.
All right.
Yeah, it's really good. Um, I think that if you're a fan of the movies and you're a fan of like the survival horror genre in games, I think it's a must play. Although it's not really a survival horror, but um, yeah, it's really creepy, man. Like I played the whole game in the dark with headphones on, like a champ. And there's some really creepy moments where I didn't want to continue playing. A lot of
Yeah.
cool set pieces, a lot of cool, unique things they do, like with the mechanics of the game. Um, which is kind of funny because when I first started playing it, this isn't really a spoiler, but when you first start playing it, you actually start in like a parking lot on the edge of the woods, and you're kind of like searching it, looking at different cars, and then you go into the woods. And I'm like wandering around the woods, and I'm like getting frustrated because I don't know how to advance. I'm like, this is just like the fucking movie. Like, I have no idea where I'm going. I'm lost in this game. I was getting so pissed that I almost turned it off for good, like not picking it up again. But then I had to talk myself, figure it out. Let's fucking look up YouTube or whatever. So I looked it up. I'm glad that I stuck with it because the game is really, really good. There's some problems with it. I think that the game kind of brings in a theme, and I don't know if it really worked for me because they kind of hit you over the head with it, and it kind of feels weird in a Blair Witch game. Like I thought it was just going to be a guy walking around the woods being kind of hunted by a witch, but they kind of take it a little further and introduce this theme of the game, and
Hmm.
I don't think it really worked for me. And then also there's the end, which I won't spoil, but the end gets really fucking good to the point where like, yes, this is awesome, and like gets really scary. We're like, oh shit, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go here. I don't want to. And then, but that's that excitement and that scariness kind of quickly goes away because it drags on for way too long. Like what I thought was going to be like the last 30 minutes of the game of like this scary, cool moment just drags on for like an hour and a half. And I'm like, all right, let's wrap this up. Like, come on. But other than that, yeah, dude, it's really creepy. There's some really cool set pieces,
Yeah.
and
It
I think
looked
you should play it.
cool.
It's really good.
And it was a budget game. I'm pretty sure it wasn't never full price.
Yeah.
I think it was like $30.
I think it's $30, and I think they're releasing a physical copy this week because I was thinking about buying the physical copy, and I think
Ooh.
it comes with some DLC, which I may pick up and play again. And it's
Yeah,
also a really short game. You could probably sit down and play it in one sitting. It'd be a very long sitting, but you could probably do it in one sitting.
yeah, I'll have to check it out.
It's free on Game Pass for all you Xbox
For
people out
sure.
there.
Game Pass, what up?
Sorry. One more thing for
Yeah.
another thing that I didn't like, because I think this is important to say, is that one of the detriments of the game is that it borrows heavily from 2016 Blair Witch and not Blair Witch Project. So again, I won't spoil a whole lot, but
It's got
it
the
is
Slender Man.
it is heavily influenced by that movie. So, but I don't think it's that big. I mean, that's more of a nitpicky thing for me. But overall, it's a fun game.
For sure. So a couple of things I remembered when we were talking about Blair Witch 2016 that I wanted to bring up about Blair Witch. Well, it's about a lot of them really, but specifically Blair Witch 2 is when they went back to that town, right? Burkittsville, to film some shit, and they got kicked out of town. Like this town hates people coming to the town because of Blair Witch.
You talking about the 2016 crew?
No, I'm talking about Book of Shadows crew.
Oh, okay.
2016 crew never went to the town.
Oh, that's right. They shot somewhere different. That's right.
Yeah, they didn't really go there. But they hated people coming to this town from the shoot, and they actually kicked them out. But they did get some real footage of townsfolk, like that one lady who's like saying she makes stick figures and sells them, and then like they wanted rocks, and so they bought rocks from my garden.
I just went
Like,
into the garden.
yeah, that lady was real. That was
That's
a
cool.
real legitimate citizen who was just, so I sold them the rocks.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. And so that's pretty cool. And they hate people in that town because, oh yeah, that town got overrun, and it's like, they're like, dude, there's no Blair Witch. They made that story up. They came up with a fictional backstory for this town so they can write this anyways. None of it's real, or as far as real lore of the town. And so they're pissed because it's a little town and they're overrun by these tourists stealing all their sticks and their rocks and chilling out at their cemetery.
Taking the town sign is what I read.
Oh
They
yeah,
got
like
taken so many times.
multiple times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. And the house that they use in the first one, which is right outside of town, they had to tear it down because fucking people just kept going to the house and like taking pieces of the house. And so that's kind of sad that house is gone now, thanks to some fans. So I just thought that was some more interesting tidbits about 2.
Yeah, I didn't realize that lady was real. I remember that.
Yeah, I thought that
cool.
was cool. It's like, yeah, I'll sell you the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, good horror series, I'd say. I liked them. I mean, they just get progressively worse. So I'd say it's like 10, 8, which is probably a real high score for 2, but I love 2. And then 5, 10, 8, 5 is probably how it goes. But since the first one's a 10, I think the rest are worth a watch.
Yeah, I think they're all worth watching.
And then the third one is worth a watch just because it's a sequel to an amazing movie. So you kind of got to see it. Like Avatar. It's getting 4 sequels. Do we need it? No. Am I going to watch
see it?
I'm going to check it out. Yeah. I'm going to check it out. It's like, bro, you didn't give Terminator 4 sequels. You think Avatar deserves 4 sequels?
Mhm.
You're crazy, James Cameron. Titanic still doesn't have a sequel.
Yeah, yeah, I think they're all watchable. You know, I'm not a fan of the third, but I think it's still an okay found footage movie. It's a terrible Blair Witch movie, but I think it's a serviceable found footage movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, second one's pretty good. I think I'd agree. I think I'd probably get more of a 7. 10, yeah, the first one's definitely a 10. The last one, yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, last one just puts too much emphasis on the witch, doesn't it? It's I always thought of the witch as a benevolent presence that possesses people to do her bidding, you know, kind of like 2 uh ends up that they do the killings. And 1, I like to think that maybe by the end of it it's Josh. You know,
Yeah.
the witch took them. I like to think it's Josh that got them in the house. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it's never the witch doing it. It's
Yeah.
the just like Rust and Parr, it's the witch working through somebody to do it. I think it's much scarier.
Yeah, both the first and the second play on this this what you see, because there's no witch in the second one either. I mean, it's all psychological in the sense that the first one is too. And yeah, the third one just kind of makes the series into a monster movie, really. And I think that's my biggest problem with it is like we don't need to see the witch. You could have done a clever psychological thing like the first 2 did, but they kind of went full monster movie with it. And
Yeah.
hey, maybe some people like that. Maybe that's what some people wanted, but that's not what I wanted.
Yeah. I don't think it did too well.
Yeah.
Don't think it did too well. Which sucks. I hate it when a good franchise has a bad sequel because it usually makes the studio think nobody wants to see this. But
Hmm.
that's not true. People just want a good version. Um, so yeah, that's the first Halloween month episode. I don't know what it is, a Frighttober or something.
Yeah.
Choose your own adventure Halloween naming, but we're gonna do some horror stuff. I don't know what we're gonna do next. We'll maybe do some games, uh, some more movies. Definitely, there's definitely some good series to chop into, but some of them are like, how do we do an episode of Friday the 13th when there's fucking 14?
Yeah. Or Halloween or yeah.
Yeah, right.
So many of them.
I like Jason Goes to Hell. Watch that one. That one's the shit.
Jason X.
Oh shit, yeah. That's its own episode. That should have been Jason X should have been episode 10.
Mhm.
X on X, baby. So yeah, that's what we got. Check out the series if you haven't already. Man, it's good. And join us for more Halloween themed games and movies this month. As always, that was a creepy sound. As always, we appreciate you watching. Thanks for joining us on our stupid nerd talks. We love it. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Till next time.
See you later, man. Have a good day. And
You
y'all
too.
have a good day too. Later.